So first things first, if you've not yet seen Farfa's video on this subject, go ahead and watch it now. Seriously, go and watch that video before watching this video. Otherwise, this video is going to make no sense to you whatsoever, as the context definitely matters. This video is a direct response to all the stuff Farfa said in his video, going through each of the individual talking points and segments of his video, and offering my criticisms, as well as some stuff that I think he misrepresented, as well as some of my own thoughts and opinions on the game currently, as someone that plays it very, very actively and does a ton of content on the game currently. Last thing before we get into the actual video, obviously don't go over to Farfa's video and just shit talk him in the comment section for his opinions or his thoughts on the game. Everything he said in the video is completely valid and most of it is really well researched. There were just a couple of things that I didn't quite agree with and a couple of things I think he got wrong, so I just wanted to clarify them in this video. That's all. For the most part, I actually really enjoyed his video and was glad he made a video on Duel Links, considering most Master Duel content creators or Yu-Gi-Oh creators in general have sort of moved on from Duel Links, so it's kind of rare that we get to see like big uprisings or opinions on Duel Links nowadays, so I'm glad to see some content on it. That's great, that's cool, and yeah, just go enjoy his video, don't be mean or anything like that. Anyway, let's get into the subject. So the first part of his video was called a Duel Links release, and for the most part this was a fine segment, but he did say this.
DK's impact on the Duel Links landscape could be a documentary in and of itself, but here's the problem I remember seeing with this. There was no one else really putting up these levels of numbers within the Duel Links space.
So if this comment was aimed at specifically Twitch and Twitch viewership as a whole, this makes perfect sense, as far as I can remember, there was only really a couple of Twitch streamers around doing Duel Links. There was Decade, there was Guns Blazing, there was Yomi Bakura, and those are sort of the main ones, and even then, Decade was way bigger than any of the others. Guns Blazing I think averaged between like 500 to 700-ish viewers, which is nowhere near the size of Decade at the time. But if he's talking about YouTube or just content creators as a whole, this is completely inaccurate in just every means whatsoever. There were multiple content creators getting hundreds of thousands of views per video. People like Guns Blazing had multiple videos over 100k, there was people like Yomi Bakura doing roughly the same, Playmaker was massive, he's done multiple channels that have been deleted now, all of which have gotten over 100k, and even I had multiple videos getting well over 100k, so I don't really think this is accurate. There was plenty of content creators around, it's just we weren't as into Twitch as, well, I guess the TCG scene was, but plenty of content creators were around for Duel Links. The next segment was called The Numbers, in which he went through a whole bunch of numbers comparing Duel Links to Master Duel in terms of its Steam concurrent players, as well as its current mobile downloads each month. Now I have no issue with the Steam concurrent player stuff, that stuff all makes sense, it's super relevant, it's just completely accurate. My issue is with the mobile downloads portion. This stat is likely to be pretty fake. Not fake in terms of the actual number is fake, in terms of what the number is representing and the conclusions you draw from it. The amount of downloads doesn't equal the amount of people that actually open the app. The reason I bring this up is a few years ago on the Duel Links subreddit, someone came along and posted a whole bunch of download data in regards to Duel Links. Now this was before Master was released, so a whole lot of this data isn't really relevant nowadays, but one particular stat on here does show why this download number is a little bit fake. And that is, at that time, 25,000 people were downloading the app every single day, but only 12% of them on Android and 5% of them on iOS would ever actually open the app. I don't know why this is the case, I don't know where these downloads are coming from, but for some reason the game gets downloaded a buttload, but isn't actually ever opened. Yeah, I don't know why this is, maybe someone that's in the industry can provide some further context in the comments or something as to why this might be the case or potential reasons it might be the case, but it seems like this download number just isn't really accurate or just doesn't really show off what the game is actually experiencing. The only way we're ever going to get some real data is if somehow there is some information shown as to concurrent players the same way that Steam has, because that shows actually how many people are playing the game. The download number isn't really accurate as to what's going on with the game currently. This next segment was basically dedicated to talking about skills, and whilst it wasn't technically factually inaccurate or anything, I just think it was framed quite poorly. The reason for this is he brings up this talking point.
While skills used to be a nice little bonus in your deck years ago, just a way to help you get back into the game with something like Destiny Draw or to seal off your opponent's grave for a turn, many of these skills have become deciding game pieces that are mandatory uses for the competitive viability of so many decks.
I hear this sentiment a lot from players. It might even be one of the biggest complaints I see a lot. People saying in the past, we used to use skills like balance or destiny draw, these like really basic skills, and now we use all these broken, convoluted skills that just break archetypes. And whilst what he's saying isn't necessarily false, it just kind of, it's framed really badly from the perspective of someone that's meant to be like a returning player who's coming back after leaving around about the time Master Duel released till now. Because the point of this video is to show off sort of what happens or what Duel Links is like today compared to what it was like when people played the game, when it was at its peak. And when Duel Links was at its peak, it wasn't like there weren't skills like this already. Things like Clock of Destiny, Shooting Star Road, Demon's Resonance, all these skills with tons and tons and tons of text that just took over the game for a bit and ended up being really relevant meta decks that just warped archetypes. Duel Links has always had these skills. It's not like this was like a new thing that's only happened recently in Duel Links. We've always sort of had these skills, even as far back as the literal start of the game. Basically whenever the fusion stuff was added, whenever Zane was added to the game, we had Cyber Style. People that played since back then, they'll know how broken that skill was. Just putting 3 dudes on the field for free broke the game in so many different ways, it was ridiculous. So I don't think it's fair to just say, like, Duel Links is now this. We've never really had broken skills until now. That's not really the case. Yes, we were using Destiny Draw and stuff in the past, but we've always sort of used broken-ass skills that have warped archetypes. That's how the game has always been. Now, for my own personal take on skills, I've always been a massive defender of modern day skills. There are obviously a bunch of skills that go a bit too overboard and stuff I don't personally like. For example, I really hated the Predator Plant and the Hero skill, both of which sort of add this unrespondable kaiju or unrespondable super play to the hand at the start of the game, and you just, well, you can't respond to it because they activate the skill, you can't respond to that, add the card to hand, use it instantly, and all of a sudden, well, your field's deleted and you got no response window to do anything. I really disliked that. But in general, I really like skills as a whole, and I feel like they are just a massive net positive to the game. One of the main reasons for this is there are a lot of archetypes that are added to the game, and pretty much all of them, at least every single new box, has somewhat a relevant archetype or multiple relevant new archetypes that want you to actually play the game. Because although they might not be meta relevant, they're all decent enough where you can climb ranked ladders with them and have fun with them. Something that happens in the TCG and in Master Duel a lot is archetypes are released and no one really cares about them, or they're just ignored and just pushed to the side because, well, they just don't do very much. They're just nowhere near decent enough to climb anything or play around with. They're just really, really bad. Where in Duel Links, that doesn't happen as often. Yes, there are some archetypes released, like, unfortunately, the one Farfa was playing, which is Adamantipator, which doesn't turn out to be very good and just doesn't have a skill for it, just doesn't feel that great. But in general, every single new box has a bunch of archetypes, and most of them are playable and somewhat decent, maybe not meta relevant, but decent to an extent, and fixes a lot of problems they had with the TCG parts where they just didn't work very well. But when they got released in Duel Links, the skills fixed them and made them playable, and all of a sudden these anime-focused archetypes that are just looked like they were just really, really fun, but never got to shine in the TCG, all of a sudden can shine in Duel Links, and I love that about the game. Skills also remove one of the really cringe factors about any card game, but specifically manaless ones, and that is brick hands. In a mana game like Hearthstone or Magic the Gathering or something, if you don't open a 1 or 2 drop, a lot of the time you can sort of play your way back into the game. It's not as important to have those 1 or 2 drops. Maybe in modern day Magic it kind of is, but at least in Hearthstone, if you don't open a 1 or 2 drop, a lot of the time you can get away with it and just sort of play the game as normal and draw into your 3 and 4 drops and your board wipes and all that kind of stuff. But in Yu-Gi-Oh!, if you miss your first turn play, that's it. You do not get another turn. Your first turn is a majority portion of the game, so if you don't open your starter monster, that's it, the game's over. And what skills do is they guarantee you're opening a starter monster, which is fantastic because it means your sort of deck is just paired up against your opponent's deck, and it's just which archetype is played the best, which player is able to navigate their cards the best, which strategy is the best, who's using their tech cards and their disruptions perfectly, that kind of stuff. It's not just, hey, I opened a starter monster and you didn't, so You concede. It actually just eliminates that completely and just becomes whose strategy is the best, which is awesome. And one final thing I wanted to mention with skills that's something that Farfa might not have noticed, or new people coming back to the game might have not have noticed yet, and that is, in recent years, Konami's been adding this little line of text to most new modern day skills, and that is, if you go second, here's a nice little bonus. Whether that be you start with a monster on the field, or you start with an extra search in hand or something. Essentially, it gives bonuses to going second, which is great, because it means there's actually, in this game, I don't mind going first or second, ever. I'm completely happy with whatever result the coin toss is at the start of the match, which, I'm sure most of you are aware, whenever you play Master Duel, when the coin toss lands on tails, well, you get a little bit depressed. In Duel Links, that doesn't happen. Some decks are outliers, like Ancient Gear obviously want to go second, and some decks obviously want to go first more often, but in general, people aren't exactly upset with going first or second in this game. It's completely fine whichever one you get, and every deck is built around going first or second, and skills make it so that going second is often favourable over going first, which is crazy to think about in modern day Yu-Gi-Oh! So yeah, I just love skills. There are obviously some skills that go massively overboard and completely make the game unfun, but most of the time, they're just a net positive. The next two sections he had were grinding and gates. I'm not really sure why he separated these two, considering I feel like gates are just pretty much grinding, but I'm going to put them together because I feel like that makes more sense. But basically, a lot of stuff he said in here makes a lot of sense, and I agree with 1000%, especially in regards to things like the level up rewards. I don't know why level up rewards are as annoying as they are, especially considering, like, a recent example is recently there's a skill released for Shark, which added a brand new trap card that ranks up your Xyz monsters. And the best target for that was obviously the D&D monster. How to get the D&D monster? You have to level up a completely different character that has no relevance to Shark whatsoever, all the way up to level like 45 or something. If you're a new player, you're just not doing this. It takes way too long to reach that level to get this monster to play Shark, so that deck is completely unavailable to you. I hate how this works in Duel Links, and I wish there was some way to sort of mitigate it a bit in some fashion, because it is just really annoying. The other point he brought up was in regards to ranked rewards, and oh my god, I'm so glad he brought this up, because this is a complaint I talk about it a lot for people in my Discord, probably see me complain a bunch, but my god, I hate when they add cards to ranked rewards. A lot of people love it because they're like, oh, it's a ultra rare that is really good, but now it's free. It annoys me so much because in recent times, specifically recently, they've been adding stuff to the ranked rewards that are sort of aimed at the stuff that's added for the boxes. So they'll add the box to the game, then a few days later, they'll add the ranked reward, which then after playing 40 games, you can get a hold of, and you can play the deck. You know how frustrating it is to get a hold of a brand new box and you want to make content on it, but you can't actually make content on it or play the decks you want to play because you have to wait another 2 days for a ranked reward to be released. Then you have to wait 40 games, and I'm pretty sure it's 40 wins, not even 40 games. You have to win all 40, and then you can finally play the card in the deck you want. It is so frustrating. This happened with a card that Farfa was talking about, the Nibiru Searcher, which he was using to search Block Dragon. It happened with Battling Boxer, where just these two cards I just couldn't feature in any videos. I'm pretty sure I completely skipped making a Battling Boxer video because, well, they just locked me out of playing it for a few days, so I just couldn't make a video in time for it, so I just didn't bother. So I hate this time gating stuff. It pisses me off. And yeah, but there is a couple of things in this segment that Farfa did say that he did get completely wrong, especially in regards to how easy it is to access skills. He insinuates during this section that it's kind of difficult nowadays to get a hold of skills, which just is not the case whatsoever. I'm not sure why he chose Infernity of all things as his example, considering I don't really know who's playing Infernity nowadays, but I don't know why he chose that example. But when it comes to actual modern day skills and modern day stuff, every new release is basically just put on the card trader nowadays. Whenever a new box is released, the archetypes in that box come with a whole bunch of skills for them. Those skills are tossed straight onto the card trader, and with a click of one button and spending a bit of gold, which literally every single player in the game has gold and they have infinite amounts of it, so it's not exactly a currency they're lacking in, they instantly grab whatever skill they want at the click of a button and they can go ahead and play it. There is no difficulty in grabbing skills whatsoever nowadays. Even for character exclusive skills, they're also just put in the card trader and you can just grab them instantly. We've even got skills called archive skills now, which is available to every single character in the game. The two best decks currently are Despia and Shadol. Both these archetypes use archive skills, so you can play them on literally any character, and to get the skills, one button click in the card trader and you have them. It's that easy. The only time this is sort of an exception to this is with brand new characters, and even then, Konami is very typical with this. They make sure to make it so that the level 20 skill unlock is the best skill of the character. I can't remember the last time the level 20 skill wasn't the best skill. They always make sure level 20 is the best skill, and to get to level 20, it's really easy. It's not the same as going from 20 to 45, which is actually an insane grind. The difference between 20 and 40 and 1 and 20 is massive. 1 and 20, that's like an hour of grinding max if you just sort of click auto duel a few times on whatever event's going on, and you'll get there very fast, and then you can just take the character with the skill onto the ranked ladder and go your hardest. It's not hard to get skills anymore. Last little thing about this segment that I just thought was inaccurate and I think needs to be clarified a little bit was when he said this.
Now, not all cards can be obtained via these returnee, like, tickets, etc. Usually not the best ones.
Whilst he is sort of half right here, there is something I do think needs to be clarified, and that is when he says the powerful cards are not obtainable. This isn't necessarily true, it's just they're time gated. Basically, the most recent boxes, you can't grab cards from them with tickets. There are these things called dream tickets, which can be used on literally any single card in the game, excluding the most recent boxes, which means, unfortunately, all the powerful cards are in the most recent boxes due to power creep. You just can't grab them until they're available via the tickets later on down the line, and those with new tickets and that kind of stuff. It does suck, but I do think it's very important to clarify that Konami aren't just hand selecting these cards and being like, right, these cards will never be available and you can never craft them. It's not like if Master Duel released Max C and they said, this card is never going to be craftable. It's more like if they released Max C and said, you can't craft this for the first 3 months. There is a big difference between the two. Obviously, it still sucks and we should be able to grab these cards whenever we want with the Dream tickets, but I do think it's important to clarify that you can grab any card with the Dream ticket. It just takes a little while before it becomes available. And this goes the same for things like ranked tickets or any other sort of event card or anything like that. They all become available eventually via their own tickets, but it just takes a little bit of time, which time gating is shit. I hate it. I wish it wasn't in the game, but it is important to clarify that they do become available at some point. Everything he says in this section, I 1,000,000,000% completely agree with. Deck building this game is awful. The only complaint I have for this section is he didn't complain hard enough. Basically, he insinuated that going through a box 3 times gives you access to a deck. I wish that was the case. For example, let's check out Ancient Gear. Alright, so Ancient Gear, you've got the brand new box. You have this brand new Ancient Gear Dark Golem box, and you're like, god damn, History of the Victor? These are some awesome support for the art type. And then you start going through the rest of the cards, and you're like, huh, what's Ancient Gear Awakening? That's not History of the... Oh, that's a structure deck you need. A paid-for structure deck. Great, that's awesome. I can't actually obtain these cards without going through a structure deck, which... Great. Next up, we've got... Oh, what's this? Chaos Ancient Gear... Destroyer of the Phantasms. That's not either of these two places. Where do I get that from? Alright, what are these cards? Voltage of Metal? Photon of Galaxy? We've got your Infinite... Like, you see what I mean? These decks are just split off into like 15 different boxes. If you're not someone that actively plays the game and has just actively collected all these cards over time, if you're a new player, you're just not building this deck. That is like 17 different places to obtain the cards for one deck. And you have to go through each of these boxes individually. You can't just craft the card or something. Unless you just have a buttload of dream tickets, you're just screwed. You're never building this deck, which is just... It's completely shitty, and that is just the experience for every single deck in the game nowadays. It just sucks. Yeah, I'm not really sure why he had a tiny little section in the video dedicated to a worthless currency that I don't know why this was in here, so, I mean, maybe he just wanted an extra ad slot in his video, so respect the hustle. I've got nothing to add to this section, as obviously it's a personal experience sort of section, so there's not much I can really say because it's his experience that he's talking about, so yeah, on to the next one. This was my favorite part about the video. I absolutely loved this section. It almost sounded kind of wholesome and nice. It was like it was being really positive towards the game, whilst also reflecting on the stuff that is really bad and the downfalls behind it. It was just a really great section. I never hear content creators talk about how they have really fun experiences and talk about the fun and just enjoyment people get out of the game and like the community behind it and stuff that's like really positive stuff about Duel Links. It's always just jumps straight to monetization, everything else gets completely ignored, which I think sucks because there is some really good things about Duel Links. Obviously the monetization sucks and it just takes up most of the conversation, but it's nice to finally hear a content creator talk about some of the actual genuine positives about the game, because there are a lot of them. There's a reason there are people still playing this game despite how cringe and awful the monetization model is. So yeah, I'm glad Farfa did this video in general, just because I don't really hear many modern content creators from Master or TCG or OCG talking about Duel Links anymore, so it's nice to have someone just bring a light and shine a light on the game, especially as shining a light on some of the problems. Maybe one day Konami will listen to feedback and we'll actually get crafting in the game, which I've said this a billion times, add crafting to the game and all of a sudden people from Master Duel will play Duel Links. It's not even like it has to be exclusive. I'm pretty certain there are a bunch of people that would like to play Master Duel and Duel Links. It's not like people don't play multiple card games at the same time. I play like 5 mobile card games right now, so it's not like people won't just play both games. I don't know why they make it so there's no crafting in one and people just don't play that game anymore. Just add crafting to the game. It's not going to stop people playing Master Duel. People are going to play both games, and just let them both be sort of free-to-play friendly so they both have a decent player base. And I don't know. Thanks, Farfa, for doing the video. Huge shout out to you. And yeah, thank you guys for watching and hope to see you in the next one. Also, if you do see this, Farfa, and you do want to do a reaction to this or something, don't bother like asking for me or anything. Just go ahead and do it. I don't really care. Yeah, I'm reacting to your stuff, so react to mine if you want to. I don't care. Thank you guys for watching. Hope to see you in the next one. Laters.